Sundays in the garden. My name is Sarah and today I'm going to be making a Christmas wreath for our front door using materials from our garden and a few little extra things as well. So first of all, I've got this twig willow wreath from Hobbycraft. Hobbycraft is a kind of crafting shop in the United Kingdom, but if you're in the US or somewhere else in the world, I'm sure that you can find something similar. You could use a metal ring, you could make a ring yourself with some of the twine, twigs and things in your garden and just fashion things into a wreath shape and then add to that. But I'm going to be using this as my base. It cost me about £6, I think, from Hobbycraft. In addition, I've got this, which is just a hook, a door hook, which I'm going to use to hang it on the door. I've got these as well, which are some fake red berries. I did have a lot of rose hips, which are beautiful red colour in the garden. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for them, the squirrels and the birds have been really enjoying them. So there was only a few left. So I have collected a few, but I haven't got as many as I was expecting. So I've got these just in case I need them. And I've also got some Cottage berries, which look really beautiful. So we'll see if I need these, but they're just there and they were about £2. And I've got 3 of these. If I need them. Then also as an extra, I've got these golden pine needles, just really pretty, and I thought I might slot them in somewhere, but again, I might not need them. We'll see if it needs a little bit of extra filling out as we go along. From the garden, I've got these lovely Cottage berries from the Cottage tree. They're in perfect colour at the moment, so I've collected quite a few stems of this to add in. I've also got some of these, which are dried flower heads of the Japanese meadowsweet pink flowers that I've got in my garden, and they look really beautiful. I think they might add a nice touch of sort of a colour variation into the wreath. I've salvaged a few of the rose hips here, which are a beautiful colour, but there were only a few left that hadn't been eaten. Ow! I have some holly. We've got a few holly bushes in our garden, so I've got quite a few stems of holly to add in as and where I can find a good spot. And along that theme, I've also got lots and lots of ivy to add in, which I'm going to probably wrap around this ring or tie into the ring as like my starting base point. Then I went to the garden centre this morning. I dropped off my oldest at one of his classes that he goes to, and I popped into the nearby garden centre, and we don't have any kind of ferny foliage, Christmas tree kind of foliage in our garden, which I thought would be really nice to add in. So I just went in and I said, if you've got any offcuts from the Christmas trees or some of these festive plants that you are throwing out, I would love to have some, happy to pay for them, but let me know if you've got any. And they said, oh no, I'm not sure we have actually. And I said, oh, don't worry, that's absolutely fine. Carried on with my way. And then a few minutes later, one of the staff came up to me with this, which is an offcut from a Christmas tree. And they said, we have just been pruning the trees and we found this bit, would that be useful to you? And I said, yeah, that's amazing, thank you so much. So I've got this to add in as well. And they said, absolutely free of charge. So really kind of them, thank you to those guys. Final thing that I'm going to add on, I've got this lovely Hessian bow, which I've made from some old Hessian, and I'm going to tie that on to the bottom of the wreath. I've also got some scissors here, and you could use some, I've got some scissors. You could use scissors and secateurs, and then in terms of tying things on, I've got some twine, which I'm going to try today. You can use flower wire, or very kind of some steel wire to tie on. But I have some steel wire, so if this doesn't work, I will go and get the steel wire, but I'm going to try it with this first of all, just because it's that little bit more natural. So as I said, first of all, I'm going to wrap the ivy around, and if I think I need to tie it on, I will, but it might well just sort of tie into this already. And I'm not going to be particular about which bit I use first. I'm just going to thread it in and see what happens. And sort of thread it round. Like that. My first piece on there. Oh, hold on. a little visitor. Where is she? Can you see her? Hello. She needs to go back outside. Come on, lovely. I'm sure she would have looked great on the wreath, but she probably doesn't want to be on there hanging on my door for the whole of Christmas. So I'll put her outside on some greenery where she looks much happier. So I've just taken another ivy stem and I'm threading it the opposite way round to create an ivy circle here. And I'm going to keep building that up. I might wrap things all the way around. I might start tying bits in if it's kind of looking loose. But I'm going to try and use all the ivy actually, because that really will bulk out the sort of base structure. And actually, you know, I don't have to use all these things I've picked. I could use them for other arrangements as well. I'm just going to see how much I need. And I'm working on one section. So the back section will be against the door, so you won't see any of that. So I want that to sit reasonably flat against the door. So everything is going to be going from the front onto the front of the wreath and building up from there. So I'm going to probably speed this bit up a bit and not film me tediously adding bits of ivy onto here. So I will bring you back when I've got the whole lot on. Hello, so I'm bringing you back in. I've now covered this with ivy. Looking at it, we've got some extra ivy down here that is just a bit excess, so I'm going to cut that off. But otherwise, I'm really happy with that as a base. So next, I'm going to add on further greenery, which is going to be the holly and some of this Christmas tree foliage. Once all the greenery is on, then I'm going to add in the other colours. Okay, so what I've done, I've got 6 stems. So I've laid it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So like a strange disjointed circle. I'm going to cut off or take off some of the lower leaves on each stem and then tie them all in at this angle. So that it's kind of got equal spread of foliage all the way around. So for all of the stems, I've taken off the lower portions of the leaves and now I'm going to tie them all in at that angle I showed you all the way around. So I've got 6 fairly even angles all the way around. So now I have added the holly on, and when I've finished properly, I'm going to go around and just remove any of the bits that are a little bit larger and sticking out and ruining my sort of perfect circle look. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but if it's kind of taking it off symmetry, then I will just get rid of any of those bits. And now I'm going to add in my Christmas tree foliage. So I'm adding in the Christmas tree foliage at the point where I tied in all of the holly. So I'm tucking it into the string I used to tie on the holly, and I'm making sure that all of the foliage is pointing in the same direction. So it's following a sort of sweeping circular movement, so it keeps the shape and the structure of the wreath the same. It's really very rustic looking, but that is kind of what I'm going for. If you want to have a kind of perfect looking wreath, then you'd probably go around a bit more carefully. But for me, this needs to look like it's been made from things in my garden, so my neighbours can all see that it's made from things that are hanging. They can see that on my front door I've got something that I made myself in my garden. It's coming along nicely. Can you see the Christmas tree foliage now in there as well? Adding some nice colour. I'm just going to try and add that in wherever I can. It's adding some really nice structure. It's a different colour green, so I'm going to just use as much of it as I can and thread it through in different spots to bulk it out nicely before I put the finishing touches of my berries and flower heads on. I think making a wreath is one of those things where you're kind of going around and you're changing things all the time. You have to keep taking a step back from it, holding it up, looking at it and seeing what angles you've got, how it's all looking, whether you've got too much of something in one area. Like the holly down here is looking particularly chunky and I can't see so much of my, oh that's good, tucked it in a bit more there. Yeah, it was looking a bit too overkill, now it's much better. Okay, so I will keep turning it, I'll work out which side looks like the top, that looks maybe like the top, I'm not sure. I will turn it and look until I'm happy with where the top is. But now I am going to add on my berries. And with berries, it is best to, anything where you're adding in sort of berries or a different colour, it's best to work in uneven patterns because you don't want it to look too regimented. So I'm going through it all and just adding them in at intervals of a third around the wreath. So some people may be good at just doing it and it looking perfect first time, but for me, I think trial and error, moving things around and seeing what you're happy with. So I've got some berries here and some berries that side. So really it'd be good to have some down the bottom, but that is where my bow is going to go. So we shall see. Next, I'm going to add in some of my Cotoneaster berries because they're just so beautiful. Just tucking the stem in between all the other stems I've got here, and it's holding itself in place. If you had to transport these anywhere, or if you were selling them, then I would recommend tying them all in place. As I am just going to be hanging this directly on my front door, it doesn't matter if they're not fully secure because they're not going to be falling off. They're going to be just going from my table to my front door. I think this is roughly my, so I've got the 2 ivy berries here and 3, and that's going to be covered up. So I'm now going to add in my flower heads. So now we've got the flower heads in, they're adding some lovely additional colour to the wreath. So I think I am pretty happy with that. I'm going to see if any of these, I'm happy with it, but I'm going to maybe tuck in a few of these gold stems, but if I'm not happy with them, I don't like how they look, I'll take them out. And then I'll show you the finished result. And there we have a wreath made with natural materials from the garden.